We share the planet with 900 million dogs. That's more than any other large predator on Earth, by a factor of 10. And every single one of them descends from the wolf. For millennia, humans and wolves were bitter rivals. We targeted the exact same prey: deer, horses, wild cattle. We occupied the same caves. We tracked the same migration routes. In the brutal economy of the Ice Age, a wolf pack was a direct threat to a human clan's survival, and a human clan was a direct threat to the wolves. And yet, in the middle of this freezing zero-sum game, something miraculous happened. The two greatest hunters on Earth stopped killing each other and started talking. For decades, scientists believed a simple story: that an ancient human hunter found a litter of helpless wolf pups, took them back to camp, raised them, and voila, the dog was born. It's a heartwarming story. It fits our modern view of ourselves as masters of nature. But there is a major problem with it. If you take a wild wolf pup today and raise it in a loving human home, it will still grow up to be a wolf. By the time it hits adolescence, its predatory drive kicks in. It doesn't look to you for leadership. It challenges your authority. It tests boundaries with its teeth. Ancient hunter-gatherers living on the knife edge of survival could not afford to keep a dangerous, unpredictable apex predator as a house pet. They didn't have the surplus calories to feed a 100-pound meat eater just for companionship. So, if we didn't actively capture and tame them, how did they get here? What if I told you that humans didn't tame the wolf at all? What if the wolves actually chose us? Anthropologists call this the commensal pathway. Essentially, a relationship where one side benefits without harming the other. And it began around the edges of our campfires. Imagine an Ice Age camp at night. The wind is howling, dropping temperatures far below zero. Inside a circle of firelight, a band of humans is roasting a mammoth carcass. They eat the rich meat, but they break open the heavy bones to suck out the fat, rich marrow. When they are done, they throw the heavy, splintered scraps over their shoulders into the darkness. Out there, just beyond the flickering orange light, a pack of wolves is watching. To a wolf, a human camp was terrifying. It smelled of fire, smoke, and dangerous tool-wielding apes. Most wolves kept their distance, their flight or fight response screaming at them to run. But within any population, there is genetic variation. Some wolves were naturally born with slightly lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. They were just a fraction less anxious, a tiny bit bolder and a little more curious. While the aggressive and terrified wolves fled, these calmer individuals realized something revolutionary. The humans left behind a goldmine of free, high-calorie food. If a wolf could suppress its fear long enough to linger near the camp garbage dumps, it could eat without risking its life running down a massive elk. Over generations, this created a powerful evolutionary loop. The bolder, friendlier wolves got more food. Because they were well-fed, they had more pups. And those pups inherited their parents' lower stress levels and calm disposition. Science actually discovered the genetic blueprint for this process in a fascinating, decades-long experiment in Siberia. Starting in 1959, a geneticist named Dmitry Belyaev began breeding wild silver foxes, selecting only for one single trait: tameness. Within just a few generations, something astonishing happened. The foxes didn't just become friendly like dogs, their physical bodies began to change. Their ears flopped over, their tails began to wag. The melanin in their fur shifted, creating piebald, spotted coats. This is known as domestication syndrome. When you select an animal for low adrenaline and low fear, you inadvertently alter the neural crest cells in their embryos. By choosing a calm mind, nature automatically builds a softer, friendlier body. As the centuries rolled on, these camp-following wolves evolved into an entirely new ecotype, a distinct population adapted specifically to live alongside humans. They were no longer fully wolves, but they weren't quite the dogs we know today. They were something in between, and that is when the relationship turned from a one-sided scavenging operation into the ultimate evolutionary alliance. Humans began to notice that having these semi-tame canids around was incredibly useful. Think about the sensory world of an Ice Age night. Human eyesight is poor in the dark, and our sense of smell is practically non-existent compared to the rest of the animal kingdom. We were vulnerable to ambush by cave bears, saber-toothed cats, and rival human groups. But the proto-dogs? They possessed an auditory and olfactory superpower. Long before a predator could reach the camp, the canids would growl, their ears pinning back, alerting the humans to danger. They became our first and most effective early warning alarm system. When daylight came, the alliance grew even stronger. Humans are persistence hunters. We are built for long-distance endurance running, tracking prey over hours until the animal collapses from heat exhaustion. Canids are built for speed and holding prey in place. When humans and these early dogs hunted together, their success rates skyrocketed. The dogs would track the scent trail, sprint ahead, surround an animal, and bay loudly, keeping it cornered. The humans would then arrive with their spears and finish the job. It was a perfect biological synergy. We provided the heavy weapons and the cooking fires. They provided the radar, the tracking, and the speed. Anthropologist Pat Shipman even suggests that this unique invasion of the human-canid alliance is the primary reason Homo sapiens survived the Ice Age, while our Neanderthal cousins who didn't partner with canids went extinct. When a dog and a human share a long, mutual gaze, it triggers an oxytocin feedback loop in both species. The human's oxytocin spikes, and in response, the dog's oxytocin levels rise too. It is the exact same hormonal loop that bonds a human mother to her newborn infant. No other animal on the planet can do this with us. If you stare into the eyes of a wild wolf, or even a chimpanzee, our closest living relative, they will perceive it as a threat, a challenge, an act of aggression. But dogs have hijacked our ancient maternal bonding system. They learned to speak our chemical language of love. We live in a modern world that is increasingly lonely, fast-paced, and profoundly disconnected from the ancestral environment our bodies evolved for. We sit under sterile fluorescent lights, look at glowing glass screens, and walk on concrete streets. But when you sit on the floor and bury your hands in the fur of your dog, you are plugging directly back into the deep, wild currents of the Pleistocene. You are touching the hand of the very first wild thing that looked at our ancestors across a dark, freezing landscape and decided we were worth trusting. They didn't just help us survive the ice. They taught us how to connect across the species barrier. They made us who we are. So the next time your dog wakes up from a dream, stretches its legs, and looks up at you with those warm, searching eyes, take a second to appreciate the beautiful, impossible journey you've taken together. You aren't just an owner, and they aren't just a pet. You are two ancient species, still keeping each other warm against the dark.